it looks like we're in a bit of a cul-de-sac here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find that very popular local parlance to describe where we are. When a bird lands on what you call the line, which you call the line which you use to spread clothing.
Yeah.
The bird will keep swinging, and the ropes too keeps doing what? Swinging. So both of them will keep swinging.
Yeah.
And nobody has a piece of rest of mind. So that's where we are. We want petrol. We want adequate petrol.
We're not ready to pay the right price for it. At this point where we don't even have the capacity to refine our own crude.
So when the junior oil minister, the Minister of State of Petroleum Resources, Bekachiku, says at the forum this week, 3 days ago, and says that, look, we should forget about adequate petrol supply, that fuel queues will remain with us, and whatever, until we fix appropriate pricing. How do we arrive at appropriate petrol pricing, Bolanle?
Talking from an economic perspective, the appropriate pricing or the market, the market pricing would actually be determined by the cost at which you import this fuel and a markup on it. And that's the actual pricing that you charge for this petrol products. At this point, we don't practice that. The only thing that the government has done to actually make up for the markup is the subsidy, which hasn't been paid. So an appropriate pricing will be to reevaluate, go back to the drawing board, reevaluate, the cost at which these marketers are importing this fuel, and charge pricing accordingly. On the other hand, the only other option, like I mentioned, was the refinery aspect. Because if we're not producing refined fuel, then we have no choice but to import it.
Then we have porous gateways. So as soon as we pour the petrol in, it leaks to the neighboring countries.
Yes, where it's more profitable. That's the logical explanation for where this fuel is going to.
This is very disturbing, because it looks like we keep discussing this on a daily basis, and you and I and everybody's beginning to sound like a broken record. Even the oil minister, or sorry, the junior oil minister, keeps saying that it looks like he's frustrated, and says unless we do appropriate petrol pricing, and it is his job to give us appropriate petrol prices.
Like I mentioned, it's the heart of the Nigerian economy. We're constantly talking about crude all the time, refined crude. It's more or less the problem that just never goes away. At some point, you have a situation. Like I remember sometime in 2016 when they actually increased oil prices, fuel prices, or the pump price. It's something that just keeps coming up. And for now, at this point, we have to face the consequences of not building our economy strong enough to withstand, the fluctuations in crude oil prices.
Let's go quickly, and you just start touching on another live wire there. One of the bad news. Oh, of course, the only bad news. Thank you guys. There's only one bad news, but it's bad enough.
Yeah.
If Nigeria could be sanctioned if we continue to exceed OPEC's supply cap of 1.8 million barrels per day.
Yeah, so that has always been the talk of the town since last year in November when OPEC had their meeting. 1.8 million barrels per day was actually the cap that they gave us indirectly, and at this point we keep going over it, and at some point it'll come to question, because right now oil prices have gone up to about $70 per barrel in January. Now it's trading at about $64 per barrel. If we want oil prices to keep going up so we benefit more from it, then it's in everybody's best interest to cut down on production. The US, they fluctuate most of the time. So at some point, their oil production is going up. Most times, actually, whenever they face hedgehogs to like natural disasters, or they have issues, they have cases where the oil production actually goes down. But we can't control what the US does at the moment. So right now, the countries that are within the OPEC realm are the people that that they can actually control their oil production at this point. So it's something Nigeria has to keep in check, especially when deciding or when passing the 2018 budget as well. It's a constant reminder. And like I said, less focus on crude is the optimal solution for Nigeria at this point.
But we still want more oil.
Yes.
We're asking for more investments in the oil sector. We want more investors to come in. We want to do marginal fields. whatever, that onshore, offshore. So it looks like it's 1.8, but we are still looking for more oil.
We're still looking for more oil, but I think with what the government should currently be doing at the moment is not looking for more oil to satisfy, you know, the other countries within, or other countries that buy oil from us, but satisfy the consumption within the country. So refined crude within the country.
Charity that begins at home. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
The charity that begins at home. Because it all comes down, therefore, finally, to the consumers, into our inflation and how petrol goes as a major cost of our production. So that takes us to the current market prices. And when I see things flat, I'm a little bit happy that things aren't really out of hands, but despite a lot of Nigerians still complain. So what's the figure looking like? It looks like it's all quiet out there.
Yes, what we've kind of seen in the market is that, you know, temperatures are quite high at the moment. You know, so storage costs or the perishable rates of some of these commodities increases, and at this point, producers are not looking to, you know, cut prices because of what they're facing at the moment. For the likes of some other products that, you know, you get to a particular point where the seasonality, you know, springs up, then we see changes in. I think that's the only time we actually see changes in or slow down in the prices of some of these commodities. But commodities generally have remained stable, which is it's not out of the ordinary, but it's the best case scenario at this point, rather than it, you know.
But definitely nothing is really going out of the roof yet, despite the conundrum around petrol, crude oil, high prices, import volume, whatever, and all of that. We're not seeing that yet.
No, we're not. No.
Perhaps electricity is helping us out a bit.
It is. It's gone down a bit below 4,000 megawatts today, but was at yesterday. But on the general scope, electricity has been more or less stable. You know, we're not having any issues with, but it's still, you know, like on Tuesday, like I mentioned, the World Bank has invested a significant amount of money in that industry.
$500 billion.
Exactly. So, you know, the power sector, changes in it would only occur in the medium to long term. It's not something that we should, you know, be bothered with right now.
Anytime I feel the heat, I'll remember your advice and what you're saying. It's a mid to long term. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest
you.
of the week. Bolanle Olutosin, an economist and part of the research analyst team at Financial Derivatives Company.